All right. Just wanted to stop in over here and give you a little bit of a talk about meditation. This is something that I recommend to almost all of my clients, not everybody, but most of my clients can benefit from meditation. And every time I bring up meditation or talk about mindfulness, I get the same look, right? People imagine a Buddhist sitting silently for hours, not doing anything, clearing their mind, right? And I think that's a problem because meditation is super useful. And of course, there are Buddhist monks out there who do meditate for hours. And they do go to the hilltops and they are very zen and they are very calm, and that's wonderful. But that doesn't mean that you have to be like that in order for meditation to be useful for you. So here's some of the common misconceptions that I hear when it comes to meditation. So the first one, it will make me calm and happy, right? People believe that they're going to sit down to meditate for 20 minutes and they're going to feel better afterwards. I'll talk about that one in a second, right? I'll address these in a moment. People believe there's a right way to do it. There's no right way to do meditation. I have to sit still for an hour. Again, not true. Okay, you don't have to sit still for an hour. And I have to be able to clear my mind, and my mind is way too active for that. This one I get a lot. And it's really a shame, right? We think that we have to be able to have a clear mind in order to start meditation. And it's the furthest thing from the truth. Okay, so let me address some of these, right? It will make me calm and happy. That's not what meditation is about. So when I talk to clients about meditation, what I'm offering to them is a practice. Meditation is a practice of sitting down for, can be as short as 1 minute. Okay, you can do 20 minutes. I've done 20 minutes of sitting silently. It's hard, let's be honest, but you can do 1 minute, right? And what we do for, say, that 1 minute, that 20 minutes, if you want to, I think Martha Beck meditates for 2 hours or something every day. I don't know. I don't think you need that. But so what you do is you sit down, you set your timer for 1 minute, 20 minutes, whatever you've decided you want to do this for. And you sit quietly and then you watch what happens. This can be really scary for people. We're not used to sitting quietly and seeing what's going on in our brains. And it's one of the reasons I think people start and then they quit, right? They think that I should be able to sit and clear my brain and not think about anything. But I think a major win in meditation is being able to sit and see that there are thoughts that I am having. Okay. So people call this like becoming the watcher, right? I become the watcher of my thoughts. It's like for 1 minute, 20 minutes, whatever time I've decided, I separate myself, right? There's me sitting here, and then there's all the thoughts going on up here, okay? And so for this amount of time, I'm just going to sit here and recognize that there's thoughts happening up in my brain, right? So what it'll look like is, I meditate every morning, and some days it's different than others. So on like most days, I'll sit down and like for the first couple of seconds, I'm like, this feels good. My mind is clear, right? And then a story will start happening. I got clients, I have to think about helping them. I have to figure out what's for dinner. I have to, all of these things that need to happen, all of these ideas that I have. And I recognize, right, here's how meditation works. The story starts happening, and then I recognize, I'm like, oh, those are thoughts I'm having. I don't have to think about dinner right now. I don't have to think about my clients right now. Not for this time that I've set aside on the timer. And then, okay, I'm having thoughts. Bring it back in. Kind of like center it in. You'll have like maybe a moment of silence, right? You'll sit there in silence, and then the stories will happen again. Oh, I gotta, take care of my husband. I gotta feed the dogs. Right? These stories will pop up, and it's like, if you can, okay, okay, those are just thoughts I'm having. I don't need to think about that. Let me come back in, right? And I do this I don't know if it's 1,000 times, right? 100 times, 20 times, I continue to bring myself back in. I get lost in the drama, I bring myself back in. I get lost in the drama, I bring myself back in. It's such a useful tool, especially if you are dealing with anxiety, depression, ADHD, anything where, anger, anything where your thoughts get going so quickly and you get so caught up in it that you have a hard time disconnecting with it, right? Like there might be some times where you get so angry and then later on you're like, why was I so angry, right? We caught up in this story. And the more you practice meditation in this way, noticing I'm having these thoughts, I pull myself back in. I'm having these thoughts, I pull myself back in. The more you do that, the more likely you're going to be able to do that when you're in the moment, right? Hopefully with some practice, you get caught up in the story of anger, of worry, you start getting caught up and then you're like, oh, these are just thoughts I'm having. And you get good at pulling yourself back in. I think meditation is a priceless tool. If you can set aside 1 minute, 20 minutes, I've had so many clients tell me that they didn't think that it was gonna work for them, right? Work for them. And it's so helpful, right? Meditation doesn't work for us. It's just a practice that we get into. Story happens, I pull myself back in. Story happens, I pull myself back in, right? And in the beginning, there's going to be times when the story is your whole meditation. I've been meditating for, straight for at least a year every single morning, but for years now, probably 5 to 10 years, I don't know when I started, right? I've always been interested in it. I've been meditating for a long time, and there are still times when I sit down and the whole meditation is my story. I sit down to meditate. There's a moment of silence. I start thinking about a client and problem solving and things I can do for my business. And before I know it, the timer, the bell rings and the meditation's over. And I feel like all I've done is just, be up in this story, but that doesn't mean anything's gone wrong. Nothing has gone wrong. That's just the thoughts that are happening in my head that morning. Some days I'm able to do it a little bit easier than others. Okay. And I wanted to let you guys know this because so many people resist meditating, or they decide that they're not going to do it because it's not going to work for them. And it's such a good practice to get into. It can be really, really useful. And I invite you to give it a try. Okay. Thank you, everybody.